We're down to the wire before Legend ZA drops. I've only had 4 hours of sleep. My shirt's got baby spit up on it. But I am getting through this playthrough by sheer stubbornness. Let's go! I got through Victory Road as fast as I could, but Callum ended up stopping me. I wasn't really listening to what he was saying here. I was way too focused on that background. That is stunning. Best part of playing at night, I guess. I hope ZA has details like that. The rival battle with Callum was relatively straightforward. His Vaporeon did give me a bit of a hard time. It constantly dropped my accuracy using muddy water. And I admittedly was too stubborn to switch, so it ended up being much longer than it needed to be. But I did eventually make it through. When I finally got to the league, I was still a little underleveled, so I opted to backtrack to some of the trainers that I skipped, but their Pokemon were too low level. So I decided to go back to Victory Road and try training against the wild Pokemon there, but they didn't give enough XP. I do not have time for this, so I opted to just take on the league underleveled. Honestly, with the assumption that I would wipe, but at least I'd be able to level up. Also, real quick, look at this detail. This really was a beautiful game. I hope Legend ZA does it justice. I mean, come on, look at these cinematics. I picked the first room at random, and it turned out to be Drasna's, which works out really well for me. The Kalos Elite Four only have 4 Pokemon, but Drasna's Dragalge means no floor just sweep. I'm also being stubborn and only bringing 4 Pokemon. As expected, Drasna leads Dragalge, so I lead Mjolnir. A Protect lets me scout her moves before I start setting up a Swords Dance. Her Surfs and Thunderbolts don't do much to me. But after a critical hit, I decided it was time to start hitting back. One Iron Head took it out. Next up is Noivern. I used Protect again to scout its moves, and this time it has Flamethrower. I opted to try to tough it out, but it ended up being too much for Mjolnir, so I swapped to Tinkerbell on a Super Fang, which did a fair bit of damage. But so did Dazzling Gleam, which got Drasna to waste one of her full restores. And I just kept hitting it with Dazzling Gleam, and got her to waste the rest of them too, before I finally got a critical hit and was able to take out Noivern. Next up was Altaria, who fell to a single Dazzling Gleam. Finally was Dredagon, but despite her appearance, she was no match for Dazzling Gleam. 1 Elite Four member down, 3 to go. I once again chose the next room at random, and it ended up being Wickstrom's room. Steel types are another decent matchup for me, so I'm feeling pretty confident about this one. It's pretty much just his Probopass I need to worry about. Against his Klefki, I once again led Mjolnir. I set up a couple Swords Dances before getting hit by Torment. It did manage to get a layer of spikes up, but at the time I wasn't too worried about it. 1 Iron Head took out the Klefki. Next up came the dreaded Probopass. I used to Protect to scout its move, and then swapped to Talon on an Earth Power. Then I swapped again on Titan, as I'm sure Probopass is an electric move. Turns out he didn't, but he did have a rock move, so I'm glad I switched. Earthquake took him down to his Sturdy. Man, I hate Sturdy. And he took me out with a Flash Cannon. Since it seemed like he didn't actually have an electric move, I sent in Naruto, as Wickstrom healed with a full restore. I went for Surf, which did a nice chunk of damage. A second Surf took him out. Next came Wickstrom's own Aegislash. Surf did way less than I was expecting thanks to his shield mode, and then a Sacred Sword took me out. I switched to my own Aegislash, hoping that I would outspeed. And I did! Awesome! And I was able to take him out with 1 hit. Finally is Scizor. I used to Protect to scout his move, and I was pretty confident I could survive a Night Slash, which I did, but he had Bullet Punch. Sorry, Mjolnir. I sent in Talon, who was able to take him out with a Flame Charge. 2 down, 2 to go. Third up is Melva. I think she's actually like a member of Team Flare or something. How is she still allowed to be an Elite Four? I swear this is the most permissive region. Anyways, I was still feeling pretty confident about this one. She led her Pyroar, and I led Poe. Poe completely whiffed his first Hammer Arm. Not helpful there, Poe. And her Flamethrower did a ton of damage. Thankfully, Poe's following Hammer Arm took her out. But are you ready to see me screw up now? Because that's what I did. I swapped to Talon for a mirror match against her own Talonflame, who really likes self-damaging moves, thinking that it'd be a pretty easy fight. And at first it was, except he took out Talon. And then I panicked and sent out Poe. Sent a fighting type to fight a flying type. Brilliant. And just as she used the full restore too. So Poe's electric type hidden power didn't take her out, but Talonflame certainly took him out. I swapped to Titan, finally getting a hold of myself, And now her Talonflame had recoil damage and Rocky Helmet damage. Really easy to take out with one Dragon Claw. Against Torkoal, I went for an Earthquake. I was surprised it did that little damage. I was expecting to take it out in one shot. She hit me with her own Earthquake, which didn't do much, so a second Earthquake took her out. Finally was Chandelure, who took out Titan with a Shadow Ball. Down to my 4th Mon, I switched to Naruto. Thankfully, one Surf took her out. Just one Elite Four member left. At this point, I was getting a little cocky. Maybe I could make it all the way through, under-leveled. But now I have to face Seabold, and I don't really have any good answers for water types. I know, the most common type in the franchise. Not really sure how I managed to do that. This series really is turning into a PSA on the importance of sleep. He led Clawitzer, and I led Tinkerbell, who should definitely be Fairy Grass type. He got the confusion on the very first Water Pulse. Tinkerbell was able to break through and hit 2 Petal Dances. Against Gyarados, I swapped to Mjolnir, which just gave him a free chance to Dragon Dance, and then hit me with an Earthquake, which I somehow survived. I went for an Iron Head, which did squeaks of damage, and protected to see what other moves it might have. I already knew Mjolnir was going down. It had no problem taking me out with an Overkill Earthquake. I had taught Naruto Ice Beam, so I sent him out next, which also did very little. And Gyarados set up another Dragon Dance. Somehow I managed to survive an Earthquake and wasted a Citrus Berry. I knew there was nothing I could do outside of a miracle, as I just kept desperately hitting him with Ice Beam, praying for a freeze. This is also where Seabold used another full restore, and on the next Ice Beam, I got the freeze. Oh, I was ecstatic. I fired off as many shots as I could, and even went for an extra sensory to try to keep him out of full restore range. But Seabold's too smart. He went for the full restore anyways, unfreezing the Gyarados, who took out Naruto. I sent out Tinkerbell, but I knew it was over. With 2 Dragon Dances, she was no match for him. I'm not sure why he went for another Dragon Dance against Poe. I think he was just flexing at this point. But Poe wasn't going to let me give up yet. The absolute legend actually survived on 1 HP and took out the Gyarados. So I was actually thinking about the champion battle. And that's when I remembered he has more Pokemon. He sent out Starmie, who definitely did overkill with that Dazzling Gleam, which means I wiped. To be fair, I was expecting to wipe, but still, kinda hurt. But now I was a higher level. I went back immediately to challenge the league again. The battles were more or less the same, except Mjolnir managed to solo Wickstrom, even with Probopass's Sturdy and Earth Power. And after Poe took out Melva's Pyroar, Titan completely swept her. What a difference just a couple levels makes. Finally, it was time for my rematch against Seabold, except my baby woke up, so I had to go deal with him first. Once I had him down, the battle started out more or less the same, except I gave Tinkerbell a Person Berry and just kept going for Calm Mind. Except this time, she never got confused. I just kept doing Calm Mind until she was about half health, and then started hitting his team with Dazzling Gleams, which one-shot his Clawitzer, and his Gyarados, and his Barbaracle. Starmie did manage to put up a light screen, so Dazzling Gleam didn't take her out. And then he used Full Restore. I opted for Petal Blizzard for just that little bit of extra damage, but the next Dazzling Gleam completely took him out. And that's the Elite Four. Now it's just Diantha, the champion. And man, did they ever go all out designing her room. Unlike the Elite Four, Diantha has a full team of 6. So now I get to have everybody on deck. And I was prepared for this to be a super hard fight. Diantha led Hawlucha, and I led Talon. A single fly took her out. Next, Diantha sent out her own Tyrantrum, and I swapped to Mjolnir, who got hit by a pretty weak head smash. I used Protect to scout her moves. I didn't feel like taking a strong Jaw Crunch, so I switched to Poe, who took it like a champ. And one Hammer Arm took care of the Tyrantrum. Next up was Goodra, who is one of my favorite Pokemon. He's just so derpy. I switched to Tinkerbell on a Focus Blast, which missed, obviously, and hit a hard Dazzling Gleam. I only had to take a weak Fire Blast before taking out Goodra with one last Dazzling Gleam. This brought in her Aurorus, so I swapped back to Poe. Aurorus managed to get up both a Light Screen and a Reflect, while Poe missed his Hammer Arm. Despite the boost, he took her out next turn, even though that was pretty easy, but it would prove to be a problem against Gourgeist. So I swapped back to Talon on a Trick or Treat. I didn't really want to take any super effective ghost moves, so I swapped back to Poe on a Phantom Force, which did very little. Instead of swapping around, I decided to start going for Crunch, and it actually did more than I was expecting. Diantha went for another Trick or Treat, giving me the Ghost type, before full restoring her Gourgeist. but then I got a high roll on Crunch. Nice! Last up is her Mega Evolving Gardevoir. This one I was worried about, especially since not being able to Mega Evolve myself. And for good reason. A single Moonblast took out Poe. Luckily, the whole rest of my team is standing. Next I brought in Talon, who was able to get in 2 Flame Charges before being taken out by Thunderbolt. Great! I should have this in the bag now, right? Maybe not. I naively assumed she wouldn't have much for Mjolnir, and she ended up having Shadow Ball. Thankfully, with her shield form's high defense, she was able to take the hit and take out Gardevoir with 1 Iron Head. That was way smoother than I was expecting. I mean, I know these games are generally considered pretty easy, but still, the Elite Four were more challenging than Diantha. I can't believe I finally made it to the end of Pokemon Y. It's hard to believe I started this like 2 months ago. Really shouldn't have taken me this long. But I really only have a couple of hours in the evening to play and edit videos. This may have been a smidge ambitious for my first time on YouTube, but I really enjoyed it and I learned a ton. I hope you enjoyed it too. Please let me know in the comments below. Hope to see you in ZA. It's still going. It appears there's a smidge more game here. Is that AZ? I have to battle AZ? Alright, okay. I do not remember this at all. And he's lower level than Diantha. Okay. Yeah, I think Tyrantrum's just gonna sweep him. Yeah. Sorry, AZ. I know you've already been through a lot. Still, this is a cool touch. I wonder if we'll get to battle AZ in Legend ZA. This part I do vaguely remember. I think the Floette comes down from the sky or something. Oh, yep, there it is. Okay, awesome. Well, that was super fun.